Yay Networks.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy! Happy Wednesday, great girlfriends. Happy Wednesday, live from LA. I just want to shout out Casey, who does all the great work to get the lighting, get the sound, get the camera set up. She makes sure there's no boogers in my nose. She is absolutely amazing. So thank you. Thank you, Casey, for hanging in there with me every single week that we record. Speaking of every single week we record, I have done myself a disservice, and shame on me for not asking or demanding that you leave your iTunes reviews. Don't stop leaving reviews. Okay, let me just clarify how much I love the emails. I love when you send emails about how amazing the episodes are. We do get the emails. They are wonderful and they are archived. What happens with the iTunes reviews is people actually go on the show. They look at the reviews and then they look and see what you had to say. So when you leave your reviews, people believe what you say. They trust it. It's like they take it like gold, and they make that review part of their consideration of whether or not they're going to subscribe to the show. So I need you to go on iTunes, go to the Great Girlfriends podcast right now. Stop where you are. Don't just leave 5 stars. Hint, hint. When it says write a review, that's when you're just going to go in. You're going to go in. You're going to talk about how funny and amazing and excellent and consistent and powerful this show is, how it's changed your life. I hope I gave you enough buzzwords to use, and how happy you are to be a part of the Great Girlfriends community. So I'd love to see your review, and I want to thank everyone who's left a previous review. No, you cannot leave 2 reviews for those of you that are asking. It is a one and done type situation. You can listen to all the episodes, but you can only leave 1 review. I know that's unfair. So I do want to ask if you please go on iTunes and leave the review. I also want to ask you to make sure you are joining us in our Facebook community, The Great Girlfriends, where we have so many exciting events going on. There's a lot of really genuine, authentic friendships that are happening between like-minded women, and our meetups are happening around the nation. So it's a great opportunity for you to get plugged into everything that's happening online and everything that's happening in person. And if you're not on Facebook, and if you're thinking Facebook is for those age 35 and older, I get it, then connect with us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, because we're highlighting all of your fun out and about times. We're also celebrating clips from the podcast, and we're connecting in the DMs, and we're engaging and talking about friendship on another level. So you're welcome to join us there on Instagram and the show. If you are tired of listening and you want to watch, you can always watch it on YouTube under The Great Girlfriends. All of the episodes are there, and you get to see all of Casey's great work, how she keeps the lighting just right, keeps the mics just right, make sure that there's not a hair out of place, and that the show looks good. So do go subscribe on YouTube too. I've given you a ton of homework. The podcast has been so much fun, and this season is all about progression, growth, elevation, new choices, new habits. And so I want to talk a little bit about elevating, and I want to talk about how you eliminate and integrate things when you're going through an elevation. So there's 3 things you want to eliminate and 3 things you want to integrate. To elevate, though, to elevate means to raise or lift something up to a higher position, to raise the axis on anything to increase its range. So I want you to think about what you'd like to elevate in your life, right? I have, most people will go, I want to elevate, my financial posture. I want to make more money, or I want to have, more in stocks, or I just want to, increase my financial reach. A lot of people will say, I want to elevate my wardrobe. It's time for me to zhuzh some things up. I want to elevate my self-care routine. I want to live a top tier soft life, and I want to have luxurious, fancy moments, right? Or you might just say, I want to elevate my relationships. I need to have relationships that are really, really, really doing the thing. Like they're supporting me, I'm supporting them, we're supporting each other. Or you might need to elevate everything. You might be saying, my whole life needs an overhaul. I'm not how I want to look physically. Emotionally, I feel stagnant. Mentally, I feel confused. Physically, I'm just not there. My career, professionally, I'm lacking. Like you might feel like you're on the entire struggle bus, and I get it. And your whole life might need an elevation. Whatever it is, I want you to think about the things or the places where you want to elevate, you want to raise or lift something to a higher position. And I also want you to think about how you can raise the axis on anything to increase this range, right? If you position your life in a better space, how could you increase the range, the impact of the work that you do? That's professionally, that's financially, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, whatever box you're in, or if it's total life. If I just shift my positioning, how can I increase my range, right? A lot of people will say they're doing pivots when they're elevating, that they're pivoting. And most of the time when people pivot, they're not pivoting to go down. They're not making a pivot to say, I want to decline on anything. They're pivoting because they want to elevate. They want to increase the range on the work they do. And they want to be disruptive in how they approach the things that they're doing. If it's their career, if it's their life, if it's their romantic relationships, you know what they are. I don't know what they are. And you may, not quite have a full picture on it. It's okay to do an analysis real quick and go, what's stagnant? What's stagnant? Honestly, what's stagnant? What's been waiting on me? What is the thing in my life that has been waiting on me to make a move, right? Or what's the thing that I've been asking God to make all the moves on and I'm making 0 moves on? What is that thing? The thing that I feel like I want someone to rescue me from, that I realize I've got to put on my cape and save myself from. That's the place of elevation. So the synonyms to elevation are to boost, right? To hoist, to raise, or to rear. That's lifting, right? So where is that lift happening? It's happening wherever you know you need it, or wherever you're not willing to acknowledge that you need it. That's the place where you really want to see the elevation take place. And again, I want to make it clear, you don't always know where you need to elevate. Sometimes it's the place where you feel like you have the least support. Sometimes it's the place where you feel the most inferior. Sometimes it's a place where you're feeling the most insecurity, or where you feel like you're lacking the most, or where you think that other people should be providing support, right? Those are the places that tend to be the place where you need to elevate the most. So when you think about your elevation, I want you to understand there will be people in your life who won't understand why you want to elevate. There are some people in your life who are incredibly comfortable with you being you just the way you are. And the reason that they're comfortable there is because it makes them feel good about themselves, right? So it's almost as like, if you are, overweight and you got a few friends that are overweight and no one's making a move on losing weight and you decide to go losing weight, well, then that changes some dynamics in the relationship. And those friends who are not on that same path with you will be very uncomfortable if they don't respect or understand your process, because maybe you're leaving them behind, or maybe you're shining a light on the things that they need to change but aren't quite willing to elevate. So I want you to know and understand that there will be people who will not be comfortable with your elevation, nor will they understand why you feel the need to elevate. And you do not owe them an explanation. You do not. I repeat, get the tattoo. You get the tattoo on your arm right here. I don't owe an explanation to anyone. You don't owe anyone an explanation. When you decide to make your shifts, when you decide to elevate, when you decide to grow or raise the axis to increase your impact, you don't owe anyone an explanation as to why you feel the need to make these changes. You don't owe an explanation. You don't have to justify it. And you don't have to help people understand. Sometimes helping people understand is only taking time away from your elevation. It's like you're trying to grab them and bring them along. And you don't have to do that, nor do you need to do that. You don't have to qualify your choice in anyone else's mind. You don't have to do that. So I want to make that clear for the person who's like, but I want to clear this with my great girlfriends, or I want to make sure, I have enough people accountable. You don't need enough people in your past accountable to where you're going. You need people in your future. You need people who are at the progressive place accountable to where you're going. Right? If I'm losing weight, I don't necessarily need my heaviest friend accountable to where I'm going as much as I need my trainer accountable to where I'm going, because he's at my destination. He's going to help me get there. He or she, let me clarify, or they will help me get to that place where I want to be. So you don't need group accountability, justification, explanation, or qualification for the decisions that you're making when you are elevating, right? And there will be people who will misunderstand it. They will tell you that you're being brand new. They'll tell you that you're changing too fast. They'll make you wonder whether or not your decisions are good enough. And that's when you press mute on the remote. Boop. Boop. Mute. Plain and simple. That's when you press mute. That's when you change the channel, or that's when you turn the TV off. You have to change the frequency. You have to change the airplay, right? Who gets to play, who gets to have frequency, and who gets to speak on your airwaves. You get to change all of that. And there will be people who will question, right? Who will say, but wait a minute, Sybil, you changing again, right? Wait a minute, Casey, you're going to do that way? Huh? Lisa, I've never known you to do that. Or that's different. Oh, you're getting brand new. Oh, look at you. Oh, I see you. Pay attention. Pay attention to the questions. Are they asking questions? Or are they questioning? It's two different things. Someone can ask you a question to help support you and ask you if you checked off certain boxes because they love you and they want to be accountable. Questioning is someone who's judging or doubting your ability to proceed in your elevation, right? So one is there to support your credibility and the other one is to discredit you. It's okay for people to ask certain questions, but questioning is where you really want to start eliminating, pressing mute, changing the channel, turning the power off. All right. And then there will be people who are positioned to sabotage your elevation, plain and simple. There are people who will be positioned to sabotage your elevation. You might be thinking, but why would there be people who are positioned to sabotage your elevation? Well, if you're a believer in the Bible like me, then you know the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So if the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, as surely as God is planning resources in your life to support your elevation, there will be people who are positioned to disrupt your elevation. And and you just got to know that is happening, and you have to be aware that there will always be snares and traps. You don't have to fall into them, but you have to know that they're out there. They just are. So it's not always going to be a smooth, easy, clean path. Sometimes the path's going to be rocky. Sometimes the path is going to have ridges, and sometimes it's going to have some pits in it. But you have to understand that your elevation is for you. Your growth is for you. This next level or this graduated movement, this progression in your next direction is for you. And if you continue to trust that it's time for you to elevate in your choices, if you continue to trust that you can do it, that you're capable of doing so, you won't get distracted by the pitfalls. You'll just keep going forward. You'll fall in the pit and you'll get up like, that was the pit. Bet. And you'll keep going forward because you realize that you still have a destination at hand, right? And along the way, you will understand that you can fall but not be a failure. So it's important to have that in your mind, in your mental, in your toolkit as a reminder when you hit a pit, right? Or when you hit a fall, or when you hit a saboteur, you'll understand that this is part of the process, and I'm not going to let this push me backward or push me back to where I was. Instead, I'm just going to take mental notes, keep moving forward, right? So I want to give you these 3 things to eliminate, and then I want to give you 3 things to integrate. Eliminate. Number 1, you want to eliminate people who take advantage but never seem to be available to give advantage. You want to eliminate people who take advantage but never seem to be available to give advantage. That's that scales are sometimes imbalance situation where, gosh, I feel like I give a lot to this relationship, but who's on the bat line when I call? Like, can I even call you when I need something? Or when I do call you and I get you on the line, you don't have anything meaty to give me, but I gave you steak, right? So you want to pay attention to people who are available to take advantage, but they never seem available to give you the advantage that you need. You want to be prepared to eliminate those people in your elevation process. You want to eliminate people who consume all of the emotional space in the relationship. Be willing to eliminate people who take up or consume all of the emotional space in a relationship. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40. Sometimes it's going to be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 90-10. But beware of people who tend to consume all the emotional space, who never ask you how you're doing, who never check in on your process, who are never asking you how they can support you, or who always want to lean on your shoulder to cry and then wipe the tears and keep moving and don't check in to say, girl, you got anything you want to cry about today? Or who always need a hug, right? But they don't have the hugs to offer. So, be aware of people who you just feel like, gosh, you soak up all the emotional space. I don't feel like there's room for me to say anything in conversation or anything in this relationship. I feel like you always have an emotional need and I never see my needs met or I never see my needs supported, right? Last but not least, you want to eliminate people who make you feel uncomfortable for elevating. We said it earlier, but I want to reinforce, you should not be made to feel uncomfortable for elevating. You should not be made to feel uncomfortable if you're moving because you feel like it's time for you to move, or you're switching careers, or you're leaving a relationship, or you're changing your hair color, or you're changing your nail color. You're switching anything you want to switch. You're elevating, right? Or if you start graduating or taking a new course, maybe you're going back to school, or maybe you're just distancing yourself from a relationship, a friendship group, because you realize that group is not for your next level and you need to make some shifts. You don't need to be made to feel uncomfortable. You need to be cheered forward. Cheering you forward from victory to victory. That's how we close every great girlfriend email. We're cheering you forward from victory to victory. You need to be cheered and supported as you move forward. So you don't need to be made to feel uncomfortable. And uncomfortable is like, dang, why do I always feel like when I'm around you, you're questioning me, you're questioning my motives, you're questioning my intentions. I feel uncomfortable. I don't feel that safety and security to just be, right? You want to eliminate those. So I know you're like making that list in your head. I don't recommend you write that list down. I'm just saying that's not a safe list to write. That's a list that you want to carry. And when the opportunities arise, you want to be willing to say, here we are. And you just quickly start to remove yourself, just distance yourself from things that are not serving or supporting. And, it's not a chop. It's not a, hey, girl, going forward, you're not going to hear from me on Tuesdays, Thursdays, or Fridays after 5 because I'm elevating and you are not, and I need to eliminate. We're not abrasive as great girlfriends. We're loving, we're kind, we're respectful, and we understand that in seasons or in shifts and in elevations, sometimes you have to create distance, you have to eliminate. And in order to do that, you can do it in a loving way that is also kind and empowering to the next person, right? So there's that. So now here's the 3 things you want to integrate. This is good because this is where it gets really juicy, because if you integrate these 3 and you integrate them at high frequency exponentially, then you know that you're padding your pathway, right? And you're increasing the range of your impact. This is your axis where you integrate. So number 1 is people who make your joy come alive. Like, this life we're living is not meant to be a tormenting space where we feel downtrodden and we're always burdened by emotions and people make us feel low and we don't ever feel like our light is shining bright enough. We are meant to be illuminated on full display of joy, right? And people who make your joy come alive are people who are there to like bring energy to your spirit. And they're like the orange or the pink or I don't like the yellow starburst, but like the orange or the pink starburst in your life. You want to be around people who make your joy come alive. People who remind you of laughter, who remind you of smiles, who remind you of purpose, who are so fulfilling and rewarding. You want to integrate those type of people in your life. You'll have enough pain. You'll have enough people that bring pain. You don't want to incorporate those people. You want to incorporate people who are there like a Band-Aid, like a good like a salve or a balm, and they're there to kind of ease the pain, and they're there to support you and reinforce the God in your life. Those are the people that you want to integrate. Number 2, you want to integrate people who respect your boundaries and can uphold them, right? You want to integrate people who understand the assignment. They already know how you move. And so as a result of that, they're not going to ask you to cross your boundaries. They're not going to ask you to break your boundaries. Instead, they're going to be able to operate within your boundaries and support your boundaries and your standards because they know, love, and respect you. So you want to integrate people who do more of that and less of the people who always push you towards the edge, who always, if you feel like you're constantly being tested, I don't want to integrate those type of people. I want to eliminate those. I want to integrate people who don't constantly test and apply pressure to your boundaries. Right? People can challenge you and challenge your growth without testing your boundaries. If you want to adjust your boundaries, that's on you. But people in your life can challenge you. They can test, they can stimulate you, and they can encourage you to grow. And then you shift your boundaries as you need. But them pressing on your boundaries is not the move. And you want to be able to integrate people who respect your boundaries and can uphold them. Last but not least, you want to integrate people who mirror what you want your friendship legacy, what you want your life legacy to be. You want to integrate those people. When you're elevating, you want to think about people. You want to go, oh my goodness, I love this about this person. I'd like to see more of that in my life. Because I guarantee you are going to be like the 5 to 10 to 20 people you stay closest to. So if you don't want to see more of what they have going on in their life, then you don't want to keep them close. But if you want to see more of who they are mirrored in your life or reflected in who you're becoming, then you want to keep them close. You want people who mirror what you want your legacy to be. And that's friendship, that's professional, that's spiritual, that's mental, that's emotional, whatever financial legacy, whatever the area of elevation, you want to have people around you who mirror or are a reflection of what you want your legacy to be. Because if iron sharpens iron, I want to be sharpened by people who are a reflection of the type of iron I want to be. Plain and simple. And so I want to need to keep that proximity to people who mirror the good, or mirror the place where I'm growing or grooming or becoming. And that's how I protect my elevation. So I've given you your 3 to eliminate, and your 3 to integrate. And again, exponential elimination, right? You don't want to just eliminate the ones that are off, friends you haven't talked to in 6 years, or habits you haven't. Yeah, I do that sometimes, right? Or the things that feel safe enough to eliminate, because those are the easy ones. You want to eliminate the hard ones too. I'm going through my own season of elevation, and in this elevation, I'm having to eliminate, and it is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. Painful, like it stings. It stings a lot. And the integration is oftentimes uncomfortable too, because I'm having to expose things that make me uncomfortable and make me vulnerable in ways that I don't necessarily want to be vulnerable. However, I'm about that elevation, and in the spirit of me growing and in the spirit of me grooming myself to become the highest, best version of myself, I know that I have got to be willing to open the door to those uncomfortable conversations on the good and on the bad. And I have got to be willing to understand that this process of grooming is not just a one and done. I wish I could tell you that you do this once and you're forever elevated. No, ma'am. It's not how it works. You do it once and then you revisit as needed. It's not every 3 to 6 months. There's no prescription. It's when you recognize the need to elevate. When you recognize the need to elevate is when it's time to begin to eliminate, and it's time to integrate. And trust me, as you do that, you'll be so glad you did, because you don't want to forsake your legacy to make other people comfortable. You never want to do that. So I want to know from this podcast what you've learned, what you've gained, what you'll do different, what you'll do better, what support you need, and any other thing you want to talk about. Please send your emails over to welcome@thegreatgirlfriends.com. We're here to take your emails. I cannot wait to hear from you. Or you can DM me on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, or at Sybil_AMUTI. Or if you have a question that you want to leave in our Facebook group, feel free to do so. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your elevation. I love you, great girlfriends. Peace. All right, great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends. Follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.
Yay Networks.